So, guys, Jared Cannonier was supposed to fight Israel Adesanya for the title. Robert Whittaker wrecked those plans. Who does Izzy fight next? We're talking about it right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, the narrative was that Jared Cannonier was going to be the one to beat Robert Whittaker, as tall of a task as that is. And then he was going to move on and challenge Israel Adesanya for the next 185 title event. Obviously, we saw what happened. Robert Whittaker looked better than ever. He came out and he dominated and controlled that fight against a very tough Cannonier. The question now is, does Israel Adesanya take his next fight as a rematch against Robert Whittaker? Dana kind of indicated that he was interested in that. Or do we see him step up a weight class and go for Jan Blachowicz or something else?
Yeah, well, going back to Cannonier, the reason that was the narrative is because the champ himself, Izzy Adesanya, gave him his blessing. He said, you go finish Robert Whittaker, just basically get through him. If you can beat him, if you can finish him in devastating fashion, you're obviously getting the title shot. But basically, a win over Robert Whittaker guaranteed Jared Cannonier a shot at the title. But, he spoiled those plans. Robert Whittaker, that is. He spoiled those plans, and I think that poses a lot of, potential new scenarios for the middleweight division and where Izzy goes from here. Izzy, I don't want to say he's cleared out the division because he's not finished with it yet, but on his walk to the title, he kind of beat some of the people that are now in the wings waiting to go. And since he's been the champion, he's beaten people in such a way that doesn't really lend to many rematches.
A lot of knockouts.
We're not going to see him fight Romero again. That was a dud. Robert Whittaker, while that's probably the fight that makes the most sense for everybody and skill-wise and just how to be fair, it makes most sense to give it to Robert Whittaker. But Robert Whittaker doesn't even seem that hype on the idea of getting in the octagon with Izzy right now. I think Robert Whittaker feels like there's such a weight off of his shoulders from being the champion. And now, yeah, he is the number one contender, but I think he just enjoys fighting. He doesn't need all that hype mess and the big fight build up that an Izzy Adesanya fight has around it is something that's hard to deal with. I think it weighed on him a lot. And
a lot of media, a lot of cameras, a lot of traveling.
And being the champ weighed on him a lot too. So I think he's really just enjoying fighting and kind of being that, I don't want to call him a gatekeeper, but kind of being that guy that basically if you can get past him, you can get at Izzy, but nobody's going to get past him type of thing.
Right. Yeah, he's almost Izzy's like bodyguard at this point. He's keeping that number one spot.
Right.
Make no mistake about it, Robert Whittaker wants to be the champ again at some point. The thing about Robert, and he's like all these people like Max, the young champions, Max Holloway, etc., that just John Jones got there and took the belt, even though John didn't see a blemish, but got there, took the belt at a very young age, where it was a champion from a very young age, and then fell off from a loss, regrouped themselves, and then you kind of look at them as like a veteran fighter. But he's not really. He's actually a very young fighter. A fighter that you could argue, especially after that last performance, that he's just coming into his prime. Which is actually scary.
That was probably the best Whittaker we've ever seen.
That was an incredible performance that he had against Jared. Excuse me. And the thing about Robert Whittaker is that I think you're right. I don't think he wants to get right in there with Adesanya again. And he's even entertaining, I think, Paulo Costa called him out and said, let's put on one for the fans, Whittaker versus Costa. Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Let that be the title eliminator if you want. Maybe Costa, but then there again, Izzy finished both of those guys in decisive fashion. One person who I would say deserves another crack at Izzy, even though it doesn't make sense as far as the rankings go, is Kelvin Gastelum.
Yes.
Kelvin Gastelum absolutely gave Izzy his toughest test yet.
Yeah.
And that was the only fight that I've seen in recent memory that Izzy was involved in that I said, this one's really, this is a very close fight. I don't know how the judges are scoring this.
Izzy ran away with it at the end, but up until the first three rounds were very close and very competitive. And Gastelum was, nobody really thought that he would be the toughest one when you saw the murderer's row that Izzy then walked through. Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, all these people, you would have assumed that they would probably give him a tougher fight. But Kelvin Gastelum was a dog. He came out there and gave Izzy all that he could handle. I think we always say it, and it's so true. Timing is everything. I think Robert Whittaker is very smart with choosing not to go gung-ho after Izzy Adesanya. I think stylistically that's not a good matchup for him. He knows that. I mean, we saw it already. And I don't think that he's going to beat Izzy if they step in the ring or if they step in the octagon 3 or 6 months from now, maybe even a year from now. But like I said, timing's everything. And now there's this discussion that Izzy might be going up to light heavyweight. And while I do see Izzy being able to, with his size and his fighting style, be able to bounce between 205 and 185 back and forth, I think that Robert Whittaker is going to make himself undeniable with a couple of more number one contender type fights where he's not really calling out the champ, but he's hanging out in that number one spot. And if he wins 1 or 2 more fights, he's already earned another title shot. But if he wins another couple, that just gives him a little bit of extra gravy, a little extra credit that is always needed when you're trying to make a case for a title shot. I think what he should do is hang out, fight whoever they want to see him fight. I think a Paulo Costa matchup would be great for him. I do think he would win that. If he showed up how he showed up against Cannonier, watch Izzy go up and hope that Izzy maybe has to take a long time in between fights or something like that, and they can make that 185 title open for him, and then he sweeps right in and takes the title again.
Yeah, as good as Robert Whittaker did look against Jared Cannonier, I still don't think that Robert Whittaker would have beaten Israel Adesanya.
No.
So you end up in a situation where, if I'm right, you get him back in there, he loses again, and then it's kind of like, okay,
where does he go from here?
Where do I go from here? So I do like his approach, and I think, like I said, Izzy is about 4 years older than Robert Whittaker. Izzy is becoming a major star. Izzy's going to transcend the division at some point. We know the John Jones fight is there down the road. Jan Blachowicz has been saying his name. He's been saying Jan's name. So I think that, at some point you're going to see Izzy make that jump. And I'm not saying that Whittaker is afraid to fight Izzy again.
No.
I don't think that's the case. I think Whittaker is as tough a guy as they come. But I think that it just makes sense in his career right now. Go take a fight against somebody like Paulo Costa, somebody that is it's going to be a big fight. It's going to be a big draw. That's a main event.
You're not going to lose much stock if you fight Paulo Costa and you don't win.
Exactly, but I think he would win.
I do too.
I would predict him to win that fight. He's much more technically sound as far as striking goes. Even though Costa's a little bit bigger and more muscly, Whittaker's very strong.
Yeah.
He's very powerful, and I think that
the blueprint to beating Costa's out there now. And Robert Whittaker has all the skills in the tool set, or the tools and the skill set to beat him. And I think he would do it, and he would look good doing it.
Yeah, I agree. So if you just had to just say right now, first name that comes to your head, who does Israel Adesanya fight in his next outing? Who would it be?
God, that's tough. Jan Blachowicz.
You think he's going to go up there and fight Jan?
I think so, just because I at the top of my head I can't really think of. Let me take that back. The winner of Hermansson versus Darren Till, especially if it's Darren Till.
Yeah.
If Darren Till beats Jack Hermansson, who's a monster, that's a tall order for Darren Till.
Sure.
I think he sticks around because that's a big fight. Darren Till's a big name. I think Jack Hermansson is a nightmare for everybody in that division and would probably, as of right now, be Izzy's toughest matchup to date as the champion.
Just because he's so wiry and explosive and strong.
And I don't think he would succumb to the pressure. I don't think he not be able to seize the moment. I think that guy's a madman on a mission, and if he got a title shot, if he can get past Darren Till, which I have him as the favorite in that fight.
Yeah.
I don't know what the odds are right now, but
that would be a tough fight to pick.
Yeah,
we'll pick it. We'll do a video and call it, but that's a tough fight to pick for me.
Yeah, I'm hot on him, and Cannonier got him out of there, but that was a devastating finish. And besides that, which anybody at 185 can get caught, he's looked pretty damn invincible. And I think that styles make matchups, and he's got a tough style for Izzy to deal with. And so I think instead of Jan Blachowicz being next, I think the winner of Darren Till versus Jack Hermansson gets the next shot.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. And I think, as you said, Izzy's interested in big fights right now.
Yeah.
Big fights meaning, can I go up and grab another title? True. Even though, Blachowicz is not necessarily a household name, he does have 12 pounds of gold strapped around his waist that Izzy would like to go take from him.
And the champ thing is real.
Champ is absolutely real. But then, as you said, Darren Till, if he can get past Jack Hermanson, that's a big fight. Till versus Adesanya for the undisputed 185 belt. Major pay-per-view event, major payday, builds Izzy's stock continues to rise. And by the way, I think Izzy can probably win that fight pretty easily.
Yeah, and I think partially Izzy's not one of those kind of guys that really cares what the people are saying. But if he kept saying, I'm going to wait for my body to grow and develop before I go to 205, and I'm going to clear up my division a little bit more, and then John Jones exit, and then he conveniently steps in to fight the guy that took over John's place, it's going to look like a little bit of a cop-out, and that's not something that he wants. He doesn't want to show a sign of weakness when it comes to the John Jones saga, because that's a real thing, and they're going to fight.
Yeah.
Izzy, John Jones will happen, probably within the next 18 months, maybe 2 years, but you don't want to look like, oh man, I'm going to
clear out my division, but John's gone? Oh, no, I'm going up to 205. No, I get the perception, and that might not even be the case.
Right.
But perception is 50% of reality.
Right.
So that's what, and certainly knowing John, he would spin it in that way. So I think that you're right. I think that, but the problem with Blachowicz, and that's why I'm like you, I was leaning towards the Blachowicz fight, and then I was kind of leaning towards Till if he can get past Hermanson. And Izzy did say as much as that me and Darren Till will fight one day, so why not make it sooner rather than later? But then it just, if he doesn't fight Blachowicz, what do they do at 205 with Blachowicz?
Yeah, that's a tough division because we have some people, but he's kind of in that situation where we're not really going to see them give any of the super older guys in 205 another crack at a title.
Yeah.
He's kind of gone through the younger guys. And then the fresh blood that moved up to 205 in Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman, they were quick and then they got back out of there. They moved back to 185 where they feel comfortable. And so I think that while there was a lot of things happening at 205, the water seemed to die down pretty quickly up there. And now it's like, well, let's
super
see.
hot then super cold.
Right. I don't think Dominic Reyes gets an immediate rematch or he's going to be seeing a title.
It's tough
shot
after
soon.
a knockout like that.
And I bring up the two names, Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman. I do believe that both of them are one win away at 185 from being somebody that could potentially be a matchup for Izzy in the future. I think Luke Rockhold versus Izzy is something that the UFC would probably do. Not now, but it's something to add to Izzy's hit list. I think it could happen.
I think the UFC would see that as a favorable matchup for Izzy.
Yeah.
A lot of people know who Rockhold is. That's a big fight.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. If he wins another one or two fights, especially if they're in dominating fashion, people will be talking about Izzy Rockhold.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Gastelum make his way back up there.
Me too. He might be the most deserving.
Yeah.
Rockhold, if we saw a Rockhold versus Cannonier fight, that's something that we could see happen. And then we could see, if he can get a win over Jared, which he has the skills to do, then he's right there. And he's a fresh name in that top 3 or 4 that Izzy hasn't already fought. And the UFC always likes to bring in new names, especially notable names.
Yeah, most definitely. It'll be interesting because what you have in Izzy is such a budding young star.
Yeah.
But now you don't and now he's just starting to transcend and the casuals know who he is, and obviously the diehards know who he is, and people are starting to talk about him in pop culture, gamers, and there's there's this guy, he does this cool stuff after the fight, he's
like a real life superhero.
I don't know about any of that stuff, so I don't know what that all is that he's doing, but apparently a lot of people do.
He's like a real life anime star.
Yeah, I'm one of the weird people that doesn't play video games or have any desire to. I've never played UFC.
It's pretty fun.
But
that's about as far into the video game world as I get. And there's another name that's been kind of looming around, and it might seem like a bit too much too soon, but Khamzat Chimaev is clearly up for the challenge. He's been calling everybody out from Izzy Adesanya to Conor McGregor and everybody in between. He doesn't care if you have a gold belt, a BMF belt, or if you're just ranked in the top 5 of any division. And the fact that they're giving him Leon Edwards proves that he's ready for top 5 competition, not just at 170, but at 185 too. And if timing is everything again. If there's not somebody in line, or there's not somebody that Izzy hasn't already beat in the top 5, when and if Khamzat beats Leon Edwards and they want to keep him going at 2 weight classes, we could see Khamzat step in and fight a top 5 guy and become a number 1 contender at 185 as well.
Or they do like a Chimaev Costa fight or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like like put him in there, boom, and then if he wins that, then gosh, how can you deny him, the guy? But I don't want to get too far ahead with Khamzat because I'm super hot on him, and I do think he's going to be a champion at some point, and I made that prediction
next year
early. But, I'm also well aware that could come back in my face at some point.
Yeah.
But, I do think that fight's out there, and if he continues to win, then you'll be hard-pressed to not see a Chimaev versus Izzy fight.
Yeah. I think that fight happens in the next 2 years.
Yeah, which that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun options for Izzy. But if, like you said, you asked the question, who do I see him fighting next? Winner there until Jack Hermanson. Early predictions, and we'll do the full card whenever that comes about. But Jack Hermanson.
So you think that Jack Hermanson is Izzy's next opponent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just leaning towards Blachowicz.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I think that he's going to fight Blachowicz. I think Blachowicz realizes that, hey, I'm in my late 30s. I'm a new champion. I've only got a few good cracks left in me.
Yeah.
I feel like I have the size and strength to take on the up and comer, or not the up and comer, but the weight class up and comer in Izzy. And so I'm gonna go Blachowicz.
Make no mistake about it. I think that the best move possibly for Blachowicz is to have Izzy fight, and he would welcome it with open arms. But the UFC is a business, and they conduct themselves that way. And I think that they see Jan as being an older guy with the light heavyweight title playing some musical chairs. So I think that they're going to try to keep the streak alive with 185 for a little while before they move Izzy up and try to run a champ type of thing.
The last thing they want is and that is a good point. I'm not going to change my pick, but that is a good point. I don't think it makes sense that they wouldn't want to risk taking their 185 star and putting him against a guy who's in his late 30s,
who's not probably the most known.
Yeah, not the most known guy. Probably won't hold the belt
that
for
long.
an extended period of time. Certainly not as long as Izzy will probably hold the 85 belt.
Right.
And for that reason, they probably won't give him Blachowicz. But I don't know. I feel like Blachowicz is really going to push for that fight, and I think maybe it happens.
Yeah. Either way, I'm super excited for whatever the UFC gives us.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, let us know what you think. Who would you like to see Israel Adesanya fight next? I think Nick and I laid out some pretty good options, but maybe there's somebody we didn't think of. Let us know in the comments. And thank you guys for watching this Barnhill Brothers video. Check us out where you listen to podcasts, and please like, comment, and subscribe.
See you in the next one.
Have a nice day.
Peace.